You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to the Sports Brothers podcast with myself, Brian Dostler, and alongside my older brother by 4 years, Sam Dostler. Today is August 12th, 2014, and it is 5:02 p.m. And Sam, it's our last podcast together. This could be the last of the Sports Brothers podcast as it is now, as you are moving to North Carolina in less than 24 hours.
Less than 24 hours. About 14 hours
There
we're
you
heading
go.
down there. Yeah, this is it for now, but we'll be back together at some point.
Yeah, I will say I will continue the podcast.
You will?
By myself. Yeah, I'll record it, and just from iMovie.
Why don't we just do it over the phone then?
No, I'm saying before I go to school.
Oh,
school.
before you go to school.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe even doing it every day just to kind of feel the grind of what those people, the big people do.
Those people?
Yeah, the Colin Cowards and the Jonathan Coachmans and the Mike Greenbergs of the world.
Your boy, Jonathan
My boy,
Coachman.
Jonathan Coachman. All right, so today we'll have a lot of Major League Baseball talk. Rory Mcilroy and what that does for golf, his PGA Championship victory this past Sunday. Paul George and his gruesome injury. It's been a while since we've been on air. It's been exactly 11 days since our last show, which has been our biggest gap between our shows. So we'll cover
Well,
it there.
you can tell everybody why.
If they listen to the past show, it's because we were at the Cape. We were at Cape Cod for a week, Saturday. It was a good trip. It was. And then the Little League World Series, which starts on Friday. We'll talk about that a little bit. First, Major League Baseball. And how about this, Sam? The Kansas City Royals they are a game and a half in first place over the Detroit Tigers to the AL Central.
It's quite remarkable if you think about it. The Royals, and did you say a game and a half? It's a half game.
It's a half game. Yeah, that was a bad segment.
But it's remarkable because they made that run. What month did they make that run? May or June, somewhere in that time frame. They made that run. They got within a half game. They might have even have taken over first place, but then the Tigers pulled away again. They did take over first place. I think they were up by a half game during that time period as well. But they couldn't keep things going. They fell back to right around 500, really. Then they started the second half of the season. We were talking about it before the show, Bri. The Red Sox actually swept the Royals
First series
for the
after
first series after the All-Star break. And at that point, you're thinking, okay, well, here come the Red Sox. Maybe they're going to make a run at it. And wouldn't you know it, the Royals are going to – they had a nice little first half, but they're going to falter. But no, Kansas City just playing some very good baseball, and they're right in the mix. You get everybody talking about the Tigers, and you're going to get the Tigers and the A's in the AL Championship Series. It's people talking about it like it's a foregone conclusion. But these Kansas City Royals, they've been on the up and up the last few years, and they look like they're here to stay. They've taken a similar path to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I would agree. I definitely would agree. The Royals, they've won 8 games in a row. They're 16-3 in their last 19 games, and they're coming off 2 sweeps of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants. They beat Oakland last night, and they face them again tonight when they face John Lester. And if you go back even further, Sam, they've won 16 out of the last 20 games since that 4-game losing streak coming out of the All-Star break. And really, this is just a team, the Kansas City Royals. It's not made up a bunch of a lot of all-stars. It's not a bunch of superstars. It's just guys that know their roles and they're playing good baseball as a team.
They are, and the way I always look at professional sports, especially with baseball, if you got a group of guys that are confident in what they're doing, they're going to win a lot of baseball games. Especially in this day and age when there's so much equality throughout the game. Every team, there's really no dominant franchise. This can happen where a team that's not filled with superstars is capable of making a big run at it. I mean, just look at Oakland. They've been doing it for years with their Moneyball. Kansas City did a great job drafting while they were down, and here they are. Those draft picks are starting to pay off, and they're starting to win some games at the big league level.
And here just for some stats, Alcides Escobar, their shortstop, is 280. That's their highest batting average on the team. So this team isn't scoring runs left and right. They got good pitching. James Seals is leading with a 3.25 ERA.
Big game
11.
James.
Big game James with 11 wins. Greg Holland in the back end of the bullpen, 35 saves for this club. Wade Davis, 25 holds. It's just a team that's just meshing together. Really, I mean, all season, but right now they're playing very well. And team chemistry, Sam, just as you mentioned, it just goes such a long way in sports and really just in life and work and just getting productivity. And this is just a great example of that.
It really is. And you mentioned batting averages, 280 being the highest one, and it that's what makes baseball. They talk a lot about how it can be an individual sport, but if you pull together, you get the timely hits. That's what it comes down to. And you look at their pitching staff outside of James Shields, it's not really an all that notable. There's not many notable names on that staff. You got Bruce Chen, the lefty who was with Baltimore for a while. He's a nice pitcher, but nothing special. And you go down the list, Jason Vargas, a guy who's bounced around a little bit, Jeremy Guthrie, Jason Frazier, Scott Downs, all these guys that have been decent big league pitchers, but never anything special, with the exception really of James Shields, who got that nickname Big Game James for some big games he threw during his time with Tampa Bay. But whatever they're doing down there, it certainly is working.
It sure is. And here's an interesting thing, Sam. They're actually third in Major League Baseball in batting average at 263. And that just shows. I mean, those are
They
just
spread it around every night.
That's just 9 guys hitting 260, and that's just the timely hits. That's the runs that they need at the right time, and who knows how long they can keep going. It's so tough to see who's going to win. Do you think they're going to be in the playoffs?
I think they will be in the playoffs. I think they have a great chance of making the playoffs. As far as winning the division, I just don't see how they can get over that hump and in the long run beat the Detroit Tigers. I know Justin Verlander hasn't been himself all year. He's expected to miss his next start after pitching just an inning last night and allowing 4 runs against Baltimore. But you added David Price. You still have Max Scherzer. Anibal Sanchez went on the DL, but hopefully it's nothing too serious with him. But even if Verlander and Anibal Sanchez aren't there for the rest of the year or for a long stretch of time, you still got a guy in David Price and a guy in Max Scherzer who are very capable of carrying a team and bringing them to the playoffs. Then you throw in the established offensive guys they have: Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, Ian Kinsler. It's a more potent lineup. Torrey Hunter. I don't see how in the long run Kansas City can win the division. I certainly can see them grabbing one of the wild card spots, however.
And speaking of Verlander, I just got a tweet saying that Verlander, as you mentioned, Sam, will miss his next start, but he will most likely not be going to the disabled list, so that is good news for Tigers fans. And you look at the AL wildcard continuing down, the Angels and Tigers right now, they would be in the playoffs if it ended today. Detroit, they have a 1-game lead over Seattle. Toronto 2 back, Yankees 3 back, Cleveland 5 back, Tampa 6 back. But, I mean, they're almost at 500, which is really pretty unbelievable. But it's going to be tight the rest of the way.
And that's exactly why Major League Baseball did this new form of postseason. For this reason exactly, it gives more teams a chance of being in the playoffs and being in competition for that final playoff spot. You look at the American League, and Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, they have a fairly significant lead on that over the second place wildcard team. They haven't played great of late, but they still have a comfortable lead. And you get one of those other teams that could sneak in there. And in one game, obviously anything can happen. You think of Seattle. If they're in there, you're going to probably face Felix Hernandez or any number of teams that have big arms. And it's doing exactly what Bud Selig wanted it to do, this extra wild card spot.
Yeah, and Kansas City, going back to them, forgot to mention, they have not made the postseason since 1985, when George Brett won the MVP for the Royals in the 85 World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. So it's a 29-year drought No, that was good math in my head, just like that. 29-year drought since they have have not made the postseason, so they're going to try to break that curse this year. Uh, the Baltimore.
Neither of us have ever seen them in the playoffs in our
There you go.
lifetime.
There you go. The Baltimore Orioles. They could have lost a big guy last night. Manny Machado taking a swing. Not sure if you saw it on the replay. Pretty bad on a check swing or not a check swing, a full swing by Machado. Buckled his right knee.
Well, it started when his right foot rolled over.
Okay.
His his right foot rolled over when he made contact because it was a bit of an awkward swing, just based on the way the pitch was where the pitch was located, and he got fooled a little bit on the pitch. So it was a bit of an awkward swing. His back foot came up and rolled forward, and then that's what caused his knee to buckle. Hopefully it's nothing serious. It's been quite an interesting season for Manny Machado. Of course, the injury at the end of last season, then the suspension after the bat throwing incident, and then now this. So we'll see what comes of it.
And it's like over his last 20 games, something like that, I've seen like 364. So he's starting to heat up at a time the Orioles need him, obviously, when they are going for a playoff hunt.
I'll tell you one thing, though. They had a very nice comeback last night without him, coming from behind to beat the Yankees 11-3. Ended up really turning it on in the second half of that game.
Okay, now to the National League, and look at the wild card standings. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, they are tied. San Francisco, 1.5 games. Atlanta, 2.5. Cincinnati, 2.5. Miami, 4.5. Mets, 6. And San Diego, 7. I mean, I think you can cut it off, I guess, at Miami, but the Mets are in shouting distance. But again, this is just the teams are involved in it.
Yeah, that exactly, and you're seeing it. You know, Seattle had 41,000. I know where this is jumping back to the National League, but you're talking about the teams being involved. Seattle, they had 41,000 last night.
Yeah.
That's a big crowd. Why? Because they're in it. We watch a lot of Mets games, and you've seen the crowds at Met games continue to grow. Of course, it's nothing close to filling the stadium. Still very empty compared to other ballparks, but you're seeing bigger crowds at these stadiums, and that's going to be another one that's a fight to the finish. One team that, well, you mentioned two teams. I'm surprised that Miami is in there, especially after the loss of Jose Fernandez early in the season to Tommy John surgery. And the San Diego Padres, their offense was absolutely anemic at the beginning of this season. Didn't they bat under 200 for 1 month?
Yeah, I remember for a podcast, I'll try to pull it up, that they bat was really
I think in the
bad.
month of June.
Okay, so, yeah, and then you got your division leaders in the National League. The Nationals are at 4 games on Atlanta. Milwaukee, 2.5 over the Pirates, and the Dodgers are 5 games over the San Francisco Giants. And the Nationals, 2 years ago, they made it to the playoffs for the first time in a long time, fell to the Cardinals in Game 5, and then they were supposed to build off that season last year. Didn't happen, and now they're back in first place.
Playing some good baseball, and before we get too far into the Nationals, the Padres batted 171 in the month of June, worse in the live ball era. That was in the month of June for the San Diego Padres. And, yeah, Washington's they're playing good baseball. They're not getting, it's not Bryce Harper doing it. Strasburg has been all right, but it's been the other guys on the team. I like the move they made to bring in Asdrubal Cabrera, and at the same time, the same thing is happening to Atlanta that's happened the last few years, starting to fall off in the second half. They had a big win the other night on Sunday Night Baseball where that stadium was empty.
Yeah, that was.
And the weather seemed all right.
Yeah, I didn't get that. That was weird. Okay, so and the pitcher that I think you were trying to think of, Sam, for the Nationals is Doug Fister.
Oh yeah, Doug Fister has been, and it's not really a surprise. He always put up excellent numbers in the American League with Detroit, and he's just come over. He was injured at the start of the season for Washington, but since he's taken the rubber for the Nationals, he's just been absolutely phenomenal so far this season. 11-3 with a 2.49 ERA, just over 100 innings pitched, and he's allowed 11 home runs, just 66 strikeouts, but batters hitting just 251 against him, and he's had another fantastic season. I mean, just to give you an idea, some of his stats with Detroit in the tougher American League. In 2011, he went 11-13, but he had a 2.83 ERA. 2012, a 3.45 ERA and a 3.67 ERA. Last year in 2013, this is a guy who knows how to pitch at the big league level.
Now we're going to move on to golf and the major championship. Why are you looking at me? Oh.
Because you're talking.
Oh, I thought you were kind of looking at me like I was saying something wrong. Anyway, so now on to golf. This is where I need to work on the transitions with that because that's kind of why too because it was awkward. Anyways, now that'll get better over time. So to golf, Rory Mcilroy this past weekend shot 16 under to win the last major of the year, the PGA Championship at Valhalla. How do you?
Valhalla.
Valhalla, okay. Golf Club in Louisville, Kentucky. He did so by shooting 3 under on Sunday to edge out Finn Mickelson, who shot 15 under, Henrik Stanton 14 under, and Ricky Fowler at 14 under. Sam, you don't think this is a big deal as much as I do, apparently?
Oh, I think it's a big deal.
Okay, well, you are a Phil fan, obviously, so it does hurt you that Phil lost in this. But this is a huge deal for McIlroy to win this.
I don't think he can ever. It's a big deal, yes, that he won, but listening. I'm not talking to any golf people, but listening to a lot of golf people on whether it be Golf Channel, on ESPN Radio, whatever it may be, they don't think Rory McIlroy can carry the sport by himself. They don't think. You were with me when we were listening to it. I think it was on the Scott Van Pelt show yesterday.
I was.
You weren't with me?
I had work.
Where was I going yesterday then?
Golf needs one dominant.
And maybe I was talking to myself. But a lot of people don't think that Rory has the capability of carrying golf the way that Tiger did. He's going to need a cast of characters. He's going to need Ricky Fowler. He's going to need Jason Day. He's going to need Keegan Bradley. He's going to need Justin Rose. Some of these other guys, Sergio Garcia, to all be there in the mix to create this cast of young characters with Rory as the star.
I do agree he may not be as
He's just not as
I think a part of it is because he's not American and Tiger isn't American.
I don't think I think it's more that Tiger Woods he was so different from the average golfer and where he comes from, because a lot of times that professional, he came from a different background than a lot of people. He does. There's not many Tiger Wood types walking around. I'm not just talking ability, but people like him.
Look, if there's one golfer that is winning tournament after major, I should say major after major after major, McIlroy's already won 4. He's the third youngest to do it in PGA history behind Nicklaus and Woods. If golf can just rally around this guy, and TV ratings, they were what? You said they were 6 on Sunday?
Yeah, 6 on Sunday, the highest since 2009.
So
when Tiger lost to Y.E. Yang down the stretch.
That was part.
Hazeltine.
That was part because Saturday was so good. McIlroy was in the mix. Yes, obviously it would help if guys like Phil are in there, but something like the Y.E. Yang upset, the David versus Goliath, that's something that.
Oh, that definitely draws people to the TV.
It does.
This
is the start of something that is big.
It's not
going to
be as big as Tiger, though. Rory will never be.
People will be watching more. People will be paying attention.
Rory will
more.
never be as big as Tiger.
Okay, I'm saying this. People will be paying more attention in the future than they were a few years ago.
A few years ago, we were still a Tiger day.
People still are now, and they always will be.
No.
Yeah. The big question with Tiger is, can he turn around? Is it going to be this week? Because
it's not always going to be the Tiger era.
Well, in the next, it's been talked about in the next 2, 3, 4 years. It's still going to be: is Tiger going to win this week? Is he going to turn around? Is he going to win his first major this week? Is he going to do it this time? With Rory, if he just keeps winning and winning, obviously that's when Tiger's window would close. But this is something that golf needs, in my opinion.
Oh, they do need a star, but he's not going to be as big as Tiger, and he can't do it himself. He needs other people around him. But with speaking strictly on Sunday, what a fantastic final round, especially the back 9. You just had excellent. Of course, yeah, you had Rory there, but you had other big names. Henrik Stenson, who's a big name in the game of golf. He's been playing unbelievably the last year and a half now. Phil Mickelson, who has struggled all year long, hadn't had a top 10 until this tournament. Really came out of almost nowhere. He had a couple nice rounds on the weekend at Bridgestone the week before, but you got the established star in Phil Mickelson there, Ricky Fowler, who had the lowest combined score of all four majors, playing excellent golf, had the lead late into that round on Sunday, and it looked like it was his tournament to win for quite some time. And then you just had Rory playing unbelievably down the stretch, and everybody's talking about that finish where the two groups, in essence, almost finished the 18th hole together because of the darkness. And what's lost in that is after Rory's poor drive on 17, where he hit it out to the right and knocked it in the fairway bunker, he stuck it to about 10 feet with a 9-iron out of the sand, and he knocked in the putt. That's the shot that won him the golf tournament. And it's been lost a little bit in the controversial finish, should they have played up, blah, blah, blah. But this guy is certainly locked in right now, and he's going to be the guy. Like I said, he can't do it himself, but he's going to be the guy that they look to carry the game of golf.
Now out to the NBA. Paul George, obviously 10 days ago or so, he had that gruesome injury, suffered in a USA scrimmage for the FIBA World Cup games. And this raises a question, Sam. If you're an NBA GM, do you let any of your players play for the FIBA World Cup games?
That's a tough question. I think you have to, just because you're playing for your country. I think a lot of guys have a lot of pride in playing for their country, and they want to. I don't think it's the GM's place to tell them they can't, because they're playing in the off season.
Not.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's something that's not going to go away. Maybe you use college players in FIBA, and then the NBA players in the
See, that's
Olympics. But it's
I can agree with that, because who cares about the FIBA World Cup games? I mean, people exactly. I mean, not like NBA fans really care about the gold medal game. They care about during the games, but once it's over, it's like, okay.
well, because it's just such a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S.
in the U.S. minds.
Yes.
It's not a surprise if the U.S. wins.
It's more of
It's
a shock.
It's a surprise if they don't win.
It's a shock if they don't win. But FIBA games, no. Olympics, maybe.
Are the FIBA games even on TV?
I don't know. They're in 2016. It goes. It's
the
like,
Olympics are in 2016.
right. But yeah. So if you're on this team, then you're on the Olympic team, from my understanding. You're on the FIBA team and the Olympic team.
No, that's not necessarily the case.
Okay. All right. So then I'm wrong about that. But
yeah.
But Kevin Durant, a few days after Paul George's injury, he says, "I'm out. I'm just gonna rest. It was a long season, a grueling season, and I'm just gonna rest up and get ready for my NBA season."
Well, I'll see what your thought is, but I think I'm sure he is tired. He logs a lot of minutes, plays a ton of minutes, and
second most actually behind LeBron James in the last 7 seasons.
Yeah, he plays big time minutes. Both him and Russell Westbrook play a lot of minutes for Oklahoma City. So it's very understandable that he would want some time. But on the flip, I think he got a little spooked by the Paul George incident.
Oh yeah,
I think it became a combination of both.
It's a combination of that and just again now, especially since the FIBA games and the Olympic games don't go hand in hand. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather win an NBA championship than win the FIBA World Cup games. That's what it comes down to.
And Paul George is, interestingly enough, a guy who's going to be out all this season and possibly parts of the year after. Jerry Colangelo, the head of USA Basketball, has promised him a spot on that 2016 Olympic team.
I saw that. That is interesting. Good for him, though.
I guess he's just that confident.
Yeah.
And the other guys.
Yeah. Then Rudy Gay, former UConn Husky, is going to replace Kevin Durant for that.
They still have to cut off 4 roster spots, so they're at 16 right now. I think I know they have to get down to 12. So Rudy Gay still may or may not be on that team, but he's the type of player who can. Obviously, he's not as good as Kevin Durant, but he's that athletic wing, same size, similar build, lanky. So he might stay around if that's the type of body and type of player they're looking for.
And now to our last segment of the show. The Little League World Series will start on Thursday between Asia Pacific and Europe, Africa. It's Seoul versus South Moravia, whatever. That's going to be Thursday, 1 p.m. And Sam, every year we look forward to Little League World Series. We enjoy the Eastern Regional in Bristol every year, and the Mid Atlantic region. We try to go to as many games as possible. Unfortunately, this year not necessarily unfortunately, but we were only able to go to one game, the New England Championship game, because
Saw 3 Cape Cod League games instead.
Yeah, on the Cape.
We weren't shorted our baseball.
No. And so Fairfield, Connecticut, they fell to Cumberland, Rhode Island, 10-6. Unfortunately, Fairfield's been to Bristol for the last 5 years, but it's Cumberland who's making their first appearance in Little League World Series since 2011.
Yeah, and it was a good game. It was an exciting game, 10-6 final. Really great crowd, great night on Saturday night to watch that game. And I don't think either of those teams have the ability to make any sort of run this year. We've watched enough Little League baseball between on TV and in person to, I think, get a pretty good idea when a team has a chance. New England teams don't usually go all that far as a rule.
Not last year.
Last year, Fairfield made a good run. The
U.S. Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, they'll go. They'll make runs. But these two teams, I would be surprised if either of it, I say either of them. If Cumberland, Rhode Island got out of pool play, we didn't see the Mid-Atlantic teams play on Sunday. Pennsylvania did advance, though, so they're about 3 hours away from Williamsport,
Yeah,
the Pennsylvania team that's in it. So we'll see if that is any sort of home field advantage for them, just based on proximity to Williamsport. But always a great event, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Now, this brings up an interesting question, Sam. We obviously play Little League in our heyday. What is your favorite Little League moment as a player?
One of my favorite Little League moments as a player was my second game as a member of the Owls in the major leagues, when in my first game, nervous as heck, obviously, struck out against Cam Vincelette, fastball above the letters. I mean, the kid was throwing smoke. He was like 6'2", and there's me like 5 feet. 10 years old, this kid's a 12-year-old, blowing it by me. Next game, first at bat I get. First hit in the majors, triple into the left center field gap. It was a good feeling.
I do remember my first hit. That's not my favorite moment. My first hit, though, was off Kevin Seattle, a bloop double against the Jays. Probably in the
last extra base hit you ever had?
And my favorite moment, though, was hitting a home run off Stephen Bolin against the Bears. I've been actually made fun of for that because apparently I jumped up between first and second base.
Hey, whatever. You hit the home
Yeah,
run.
I hit the home run, and it was a game clincher.
That was the only home run of your career.
That was the only home run. Almost hit one.
But you
big
didn't.
field, but I didn't. So.
What I also loved about Little League is the after the game, just hanging out.
Yep.
After every game, I'd get a small root beer, hot dog, and a French fry.
I always change up. I go to fried dough. I get hamburger. Be all over the place, but
play a little manhunt.
Yep.
Speedball. Speedball was big.
Speedball was huge. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our podcast today. Thank you for listening to the Sports Brothers podcast. You can listen to our current shows, past shows off our Twitter page at Sport Brothers, or off our website, the sportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com. And Sam, this is it for maybe quite some time. What?
Your computer's playing.
My computer's playing. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it could be it for quite some time. Heading off to North Carolina in the morning.
Well, good
Air Force football. Just had a conference call.
Shirtless.
You didn't have to tell the world that.
You could have covered it up.
And I'll just throw it out there because I'm a good sport. Congrats to Brian for winning Stump the Bro, 6-4.
Thank you.
We didn't do one today because, well, there was no need to.
It's irrelevant because I'm better than you at that.
At least for this stretch.
All right. Well, and Sam, good luck to you in North Carolina.
Go Warriors.
Yeah. Woohoo, Eastern. And try to do something so that I can just slide right in there.
You got it. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what my career is all about, paving the path for you, Bri.
Sounds good to me if you want to put it that way. All right, well, that does it for today. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Have a wonderful day.